I'm so glad that you're here to listen to Terry McBride. The first time I heard his story, I was just amazed. You know, he's the most powerful manifester of these principles that I know. We talk about this being a practical spirituality every week. And what I know about Terry McBride is that he proved the principles more powerfully than any person I've ever met. And I am so proud and I'm so honored that he's here to speak to us today. Please welcome Terry McBride.
What an honor it is to stand before you this morning. I've been looking forward to this. Start off my year with you folks. I got here about 8 this morning. The door was already open. There were 2 people. I came in and they welcomed me like family. And then other people started showing up. Other things started to get done. And as the time moved along, all of a sudden there became this alive dynamics that was working with these people. And you could see, I could see, this was family. This was your family setting this place up so you could come in and feel what you feel. I have witnessed that every time I have been at Vision. I've always celebrated who you are. How you manifested the dream that Patty and John had 8+ years ago. And I acknowledge your new home. I travel all over the country. Last year, I think we did 36. 36 Sundays at Science of Mind or Unity. Every Sunday, I'm with a congregation. What you people have and what you have created is really quite unique. Because it really is the practical application. This place, you use it. You just don't talk about it, you use it. And I want you to know what an honor it is for me to start my year in your center. I got to do this. How many people in this room right now were here this morning with the sole purpose of setting it up so it could be like this? How many of you came to do the food? Stand. Would you stand? All of you stand. Come on, all of you. All of you. Thank you. How many of you have not heard me speak before? Raise your hand. Well, I'm going to talk this morning as if I'm part of this family, because there are a lot of people in here who have heard me speak 10 or 15 times. And so if I move a little fast, if this is the first time you've ever heard me speak, or if I say something that's a little bit like, oh my God, did he really say that? Take a look at somebody who's been here for a while and see that they're not upset. Because when I talk to you about your power and authority, it isn't because I learned it from reading a few books. I know what this philosophy offers people. I I know what it's like to find a home here with like-minded people, where you can explore ideas that are almost taboo anywhere else. When John asked me to speak, I told him the title of the talk was Discovering Your Own Power and Authority. And as I began to work on that, what I began to understand from my point of view was what I wanted to talk about this morning mostly was how thankful I am for my power and authority. You know, moving into I love the last end of every year, because we got Thanksgiving, then we got Christmas, and then we got New Year's. Now, from my point of view, those are the big ones, to start in this season, if you will, coming from being thankful about what I have. The next thing for me is Christmas. You know, in Science of Mind, we acknowledge there are a lot of paths to the one God. And I really celebrate that. But sometimes we forget to acknowledge that these paths are different. What Jesus brought to the human race is different than what Buddha brought to the human race. Certainly there's compassion and that stuff that crosses the board. But what Jesus brought to you and I is power and authority. Because he was the one that said, as you believe, so shall it be done unto you. And it can be challenging, because most of us grew up in a place when we go to give thanks, Thanksgiving, we give thanks to something out there. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, this. I got in this when I was really sick. Most of you know that. I had a spinal fusion at 23. Spine got infected with E. coli bacteria, and over the next 11 years, I had 27 surgeries on my body. They pulled my bowels out, clipped them. I went to the bathroom in a plastic bag. They took all the tissue out of my back and buttocks so they could see my spine, put me in a body cast for 6 months and laid me on my back, and that didn't heal. I have letters from the finest doctors in the world to the insurance company saying he's never going to get well, he's going to live in a wheelchair, he's going to have a colostomy forever, and I turned 70 in November, and I am perfectly healthy. When I give thanks for my health, I do not thank God for my health. I thank me for my health. I thank me for the nights and the days and the mornings where I stuck with using these principles. God didn't make me well. I made me well. It's done as I believe. This is that part where a new person who hasn't heard me before looks over at the people who've heard me before, and they'll say, just hang in there. He's going to come to a good point. You and I stand on a threshold where very few people have been before. Because not only do we talk this stuff, not only do we sing these kinds of songs, we stand here, we sit here as a community, as a spiritual family, to own the truth of who we are. Can we put that affirmation back up on the screen? See, here, we stand here to celebrate, but look at this. I know it, I believe it, and rally in its strength and ability and authority. The inner sanctuary of who I am, I revel in it. I revel in my strength. I revel in my ability. I revel in my authority. Where else are you going to talk about that? You think sitting around the Thanksgiving table with your extended family, or at Christmas with your extended family, and people said, what are you thankful for? And they go, I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my children. I'm thankful for my job. Do you think It would open up a wonderful line of communication if you said, I'm thankful for my power and authority. Do you think that most of the people that you grew up would get it? They'd look at you and say, that sounds like ego to me. Who do you think you are? You must give credit to God first, because if you don't give credit to God first, then He'll get you. You and I, in this room, explore a truth that until recently was only explored by the masters and mystics who were in the secret societies. Loose translation. Get past the words. You couldn't talk about what we talk about in this room 100 years ago in the United States. They would kill you. You couldn't heal, you couldn't use this power we teach to heal people in the United States 100 years ago, because they'd burn you at the stake. What Patty and John had as their vision for this ministry were ordinary people, men and women, girls and boys, could come together and explore what might it mean that all things are possible if only I believe. See, we don't, certainly that idea, with God all things are possible. Every Christian, if you get past the words there, because, I know in Science of Mind he said Christian. Ernest Holmes says the whole purpose of metaphysics is to prove the teachings of Jesus. Don't let me step on your toes, but he didn't say the purpose of metaphysics is to prove the teachings of Buddha. In 2014, there's an opportunity for you and I to step up and really apply these principles. And to do that, it can be challenging. Because this ministry is not about going with the flow, unless the flow is going the way you want it to go. This ministry is not about giving up your attachment to the outcome. This ministry is absolutely being committed to the outcome that we declare. This center will transform people's lives. But if you step up and say things like that, people go, who do you think you are? And that's why the foundation for this entire movement is the first two steps. It's one divine presence in the universe. I call that divine presence God. Some people call it spirit. Some other, one divine presence. Second step, that divine presence and I are one. That makes you God, expressing uniquely as a woman. That makes you God, expressing uniquely as a man. What am I most grateful for in my life? My power and authority. Am I grateful for my health? Certainly. There are days I weep. I am so grateful for my health. So grateful to wake up pain-free. So grateful to just be able to go to the bathroom the way I used to go to the bathroom instead of in a plastic bag. But in those moments when I weep about my gratitude, what I always come back to is I'm grateful for my power and authority, because that's what created my health. You see, the foundation for science of mind is where Ernest talks about that the law, the infinite power of God, already says yes. It already says yes to your beliefs. This is what Jesus meant when he said, as you believe, so shall it be done unto you. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believing you shall have it, you shall have it. What he talked about was the great foundation of science of mind is this. Listen, you do not have to change for the infinite power of creation to back up your beliefs. It already does. What that means is you don't have to forgive enough. You don't have to let go enough. You don't have to be willing enough. You don't have to do any of that stuff that they teach out there in the, that says you need to do this before you're holy. You need to forgive everybody you've ever held anything against before you can have the healing you want. Oh, bull. No, that's not true. You see, what science of mind teaches is you're already holy. You're already magnificent. There is nothing you can do, nothing you could ever have done to separate yourself from the divine. Why? Because the truth is you are the divine. And knowing that is what sets you free. As you move into this year, you understand that you already have power and authority. It's already done as you believe. All you need, if you're not getting what you want, all you need to do is change your beliefs. You don't have to do anything to get closer to God. It isn't about holding your palms up so you can be receptive. What are you going to receive? It's already within you. That's what this center is about. What Patty brings to her teachings is an application, a practical application of these principles. I have heard this woman talk to people who have been in Science of Mind for 15 years and done all the classes, and I've heard her answer their questions and give them practical things they can do right now. I've heard this woman talk to somebody after it's their first Sunday at a Science of Mind church, and they're asking questions. And when she gives them answers, she gives them what they can do right now to begin to apply this stuff. You are in the right place. And I don't just spend time thinking about this stuff. I use it. What Patty has taught me over the years, and we've known each other a long time, is to apply it. It's not just good to think about it, and it's wonderful to think and study, but you will never own your power just by studying it. You have to apply it. This is what Ernest talks about throughout his writings. You can only know as much as you can demonstrate. And so what I love about Patty's ministry is that she encourages people to go demonstrate. What's on your plate? What would you like to demonstrate? Good, let me assist you to demonstrate that. She's never, you shouldn't demonstrate that. You ought to demonstrate that. She allows you to be right where you are and apply this stuff to your priorities. So you need to use it. Because what you will discover is who you are. One of my favorite quotes of Ernest Holmes is on page 169 of this wonderful book called Living the Science of Mind. Last night, as I was sitting in my hotel room, after I ironed my shirt and got everything unpacked and ready to go for this morning, I opened up my briefcase and pulled this out and just sat reading it. Oh my God, it's not only underlined in reds, I got yellow highlights, I got stars, I got, things in the back. And I would read places where I underlined, and I thought, yeah, good. And then I'd read between where I underlined and go, why didn't I underline that? And I thought, how many nights have you sat in a hotel room and read Living the Science of Mind? Why do I do that? Because it's real confusing in this movement. See, one of the problems we have, Ernest talks about, is too much study and too little practice. He also talks about one of the challenges we have is we read a little of this discipline, 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 and we really congratulate ourselves on being so eclectic on all the stuff we read. And Ernest says what really happens when you do that is you get down to where you need to apply it, and you're not sure what you need to do anymore. Because this discipline says this discipline says this discipline says this discipline says this. So you get to the place where you need to apply it, we're not sure what we need to do, so we let go and let God. Ernest is real clear about this. Page 169, Living the Science of Mind. The freedom, the power, the joy you seek already exists, and it exists in your perception of who you are. It doesn't exist out there. It exists inside you. And he goes on and he says, for each of us to realize the promise of divine life, we must begin to personalize the attributes that heretofore we've given only to God. Hence, it is not enough to say that God is free, which of course is a true statement, but we must make this freedom our own. We must make this power personable. He goes on, he says, we must begin to have the courage to accept. The freedom of God is my freedom. We must have the courage to begin to accept that the power of God is my power. We must begin to accept that the mind of God is my mind, the strength of God is my strength, the joy of God is my joy. For when we own this, when we begin to feel these truths are true about us right down in the pit of our being, we cease moving throughout life with faith in God. We begin to move throughout human existence with the faith of God. And from there, we can use these principles to create miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And what I would say is after you get to that place and create that miracle, instead of saying, thank you, God, to something out there, look in the mirror and say, thank you, self. Thank you, Terry McBride, for creating health. Thank you, Terry McBride, for creating a ministry that you wake up in the morning excited to do. Was this gift available from the divine presence? Certainly. But the reason I have it is that I wrote it down, I got specific, and used these principles just like Patty told me to create what I wanted. And it's challenging. Because even in my power and authority, there is a humbleness that mixes. And I'm not always sure what to do with it other than just to put my arms around myself and say, I love who you are, Terry. And I'm excited about your journey. That's what this year offers to you. It offers for you an opportunity to get involved in your life, your way. Because this philosophy, and specifically this ministry, is about you making your dreams come true. It's not about Patty's priorities for you, although she has some, and they're open, loving, accepting, a place where people can. But in that, what her whole ministry is about is your priorities. When I walked into my first Science of Mind place, Science of Mind Center, almost 40 years ago, I picked up a pamphlet. I was still sick. I knew the tools. I was on the track using them, but I was still sick. And I walked in and picked up this pamphlet. And on the front page it said, Science of Mind is a correlation of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of religion, applied to human needs and the aspirations of humanity. This center is about your needs. This center is about your priorities. If what's right in front of you is you want to go to bed at night without crying yourself to sleep, then go talk to a practitioner and they'll help you with that, with prayer work. If your priority is you need a new form of employment, then you go talk to a practitioner and they'll pray for that need. This center is about you. And make no mistake as you move into this year, understand the foundation for this great spiritual teaching we call Science of Mind is this. On page 210, Living the Science of Mind. The law, the infinite power of God, having no purpose of its own, having no intention of its own about you, is compelled to take the color of your dominant thought and create after that pattern. What that means is that's Ernest's way of saying, as ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. That statement is the foundation for the law of attraction. And he goes on and he says, we being persons can change our thoughts and thereby remold our conditions. Indeed, this is the great realization of freedom. And to understand this is to understand how we may be released from fear, doubt, and disease. I stand before you today, honored to be in your presence. And filled with the truth of who I am, because I proved it. I created health where there was only disease. And on page 315, Ernest Holmes says to us, to start our new year, therefore, you may know that everything you do, everything you say, everything you think carries with it divine authority. You are free. On January 6th, Monday, starts classes. January 6th is the foundations class, 10-week class. I know people who have taken the foundation class 6 times, because every time they take it, they learn something new. What do you think would happen if this was the year you decided to not just study it, but to apply it? You see, what happens in classes is certainly you have a text to read, but you sit with your peer group, with your fellow students, and you have homework every week. So you go read the stuff, you do your homework, and then you sit with your peers and talk. How did it work for you? How did you apply it? So it isn't just a theory thing. You study and apply it. Then you come back the next week. You study and apply it. And what happens through this interaction in classwork is you really figure out, oh, this is how it works for me. That's what classes give you. Then on Wednesday, January 8th, you've got an eight-week class called Financial Freedom. Financial freedom isn't just about holding your palms up so you can be receptive, or just about tithing, although tithing is a great way to jumpstart your financial abundance. What it is, it explores finances and how you do it, how consciousness works. And again, in the classroom setting, you read, then you apply it. Can you imagine what would happen if you just, and I'm not saying all you do is read and study this stuff, but if you read and studied, what this center offers you is where you can use this stuff. There's so much I wanted to say, so much I wanted to be grateful for, to be able to start off my year with you. I don't know what you're facing. I don't know how many loving, caring people have told you you need to buy into this box. What I do know is science is proving now, through changing your thoughts, you can change your genetic structure. Through changing your thoughts, you can change your DNA. What I do know is science is absolutely proving that all things are possible if only you believe. You are powerful beyond measure. The hunger inside of you to be able to demonstrate that power and authority is not ego-driven in the way most people would say that. It is that divine presence within you that hungers to walk on this planet like Jesus walked, as one having authority. Step up. Get involved. And if I were you, I'd get involved in the volunteer program so you can start early with 2 or 3 people and watch this thing grow. In the sense of that smile that I started this talk with, I celebrate who you are, what you have done, and I am honored to stand in your presence.